Professional bowling looks different than it used to. I will admit I am not a professional bowling rabid fan. I don't follow the sport closely, but this is sort of what I thought professional bowling still looked like. I mean, why would it change? But aesthetically, professional bowling has changed a lot. Look, this is what professional bowling looks like now. They wear sunglasses. They've got logos all over them like it's NASCAR or something. And I'm sure this isn't weird to people who follow this as a sport, but as just a casual viewer of professional bowling, I had no idea they wore gloves while they bowled now. I didn't know. The new look of professional bowling is a little intimidating. They're very intense-looking guys. It's a little scary. Even when things go horribly wrong, it's a little intimidating.
Using an IQ Tour Edition, medium hook potential, and that great soft touch and rotation of Pete Weber's at the bottom of the swing.
Whoa! Channel! Lost it.
Lost it. When he says channel, I think that's like the technical term that you and I would probably call gutterball. Channel. At 7 o'clock here on this channel on MSNBC, every single day, 7 p.m. Eastern, you know that it is time for Hardball. Chris Matthews, my friend, master of American electoral politics. It's Hardball every night. He's at 7 o'clock. Here at 9 o'clock, we are not Hardball. We are Gutterball. Because at least this year in electoral politics, some of the most amazing stuff happening in the competition for very high political office is happening among the people who are failing radically and dramatically in those contests. The bottom of the heap is full of amazing stuff. Look, for example, at this new PPP poll that's just out in South Carolina. Up at the top of this poll, there's this remarkable split. Number one in this PPP poll, South Carolina, is, of course, Donald Trump. He's got a huge number in South Carolina. He's at 37% of the vote. I think that's the biggest statewide lead he's had anywhere all year long. In second place behind him is Ben Carson, polling at 21% in South Carolina. So they're the top two, 37 and 21%. The next closest candidate is all the way down at 6%, where Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz are tied for third. That is just a remarkable split, right? Carson is 16 points behind Trump, but everybody else is at least 15 points behind him. And below Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz, tied at 6%, nobody else even cracks 5% in South Carolina. It's just incredible. That can't crack 5% group also includes Lindsey Graham, who's tied with Mike Huckabee, Rand Paul, and Scott Walker at 3% in this latest South Carolina poll. I mean, there's all this beltway buzz around candidates like Rand Paul and Scott Walker, but 3% is sort of around where these guys are settling in now in the field. They're just doing unexpectedly terribly. And while being tied even at a low number with Rand Paul and Scott Walker might usually be a great day for a perennial cellar dweller like Lindsey Graham, this particular South Carolina result is also an unexpectedly bad showing for him because South Carolina is his home state. And he's only getting 3% in his home state. The PPP polling firm added insult to injury then by also asking Republican voters in South Carolina if they thought their home state senator, Lindsey Graham, should just stop running for president. This is the proportion of South Carolina Republicans who said, yes, Lindsey Graham should quit the race for president. 78% want him to quit, and he's their home state senator. PPP put out this poll today under the headline, South Carolina Republicans to Lindsey Graham drop out. I mean, as weird as it seems, Donald Trump being hugely ahead in the race for the Republican nomination, that's kind of like a dog bites man story at this point. That's normal news. That doesn't garner any headlines. At this point, the headlines are about not who's at the top of the polls, but who's at the bottom, about who is losing most dramatically. Right now, in this South Carolina poll, losing even worse than Lindsey Graham are these guys. All three of them, big name, nationally known Republican governors, all of whom were supposed to be real contenders for the presidency this year. All three of them in South Carolina right now polling at 1%. Rick Perry, Chris Christie, Bobby Jindal. I mean, looking at Bobby Jindal, I'm not sure anybody really knows what his game plan is to try to get out of the cellar, but he's routinely now polling at 1% or even 0% in most polls. Today, the new Bobby Jindal campaign gambit was that he tried to make fun of Donald Trump. The Bobby Jindal campaign today released this video.
We're leading in every single poll.
I'm sorry, winning.
But the polls have been through the roof, every one of them.
Like winning.
And Kanye West has been so great. I would never say bad about him because he says such nice things about me.
Giant marquee name comes through on your caller ID and it's like, winning.
When I'm winning in all the polls.
Duh. Winning.
I'm winning in all the states.
You know, you make a choice to win and you win.
I'm winning everywhere.
Wow, winning. I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what?
It is very funny to see Donald Trump compared to Charlie Sheen like that. I think, unfortunately for Bobby Jindal, it is also very funny when they propose at the end of all that the way to get serious about running for president is Bobby Jindal. both sides of that ad seem funny. One, you're laughing with him, one. But Bobby Jindal is trying new campaign tactic, making fun of Donald Trump. Maybe it will work. The other person who Chris Christie and Bobby Jindal are tied with in South Carolina at right now is poor beleaguered Rick Perry, former governor of Texas. He, too, is at 1% right now in South Carolina. Rick Perry really does look dead. He says he's not dead. This is the Texas Tribune right now. Quote, Perry continues to battle rumors of campaign demise. Rick Perry is now down to 1 campaign staffer in Iowa, 0 staffers in New Hampshire. We learned yesterday that he has closed his campaign headquarters in South Carolina, and he has no national paid staffers anywhere. But whoever is still speaking for that ghost campaign, and doing so presumably as a hobby now, whoever Rick Perry's spokesman still is trying to keep the national press convinced that Rick Perry technically is still running. It's an explicit criteria for eligibility in the next Republican debate that each candidate has to have at least 1 staffer in 2 of the first 4 states that will vote on the nomination. The Perry campaign says that it has very carefully not died in specific enough ways to still meet that criteria. So they've got that 1 staffer in Iowa and 1 staffer somewhere else who they are, importantly, keeping on the payroll, specifically so Rick Perry can still qualify to make it into the CNN debate a week from tonight. So that technically means the Rick Perry campaign is not dead, even though he hasn't been seen anywhere for a week and a half. I think if you accidentally unplugged Rick Perry at this point, he would quietly politically expire. But below even Rick Perry in the polls right now are these 2 guys, George Pataki and Jim Gilmore. Governor Pataki is the one on the right. I know it's hard sometimes. Jim Gilmore is probably not going to qualify to make the CNN debate next week, but the Washington Post now reports that may not be too severe a blow for Jim Gilmore, since he is not campaigning at all. Jim Gilmore is not holding events in any of the early states. He explained to the Washington Post that he's basically just trying to get on cable news now, where hopefully people will still describe him as running for president, even as he does nothing else to prove it. I think even that will stop pretty soon for Governor Gilmore. There is one last amazing, truly unexpected story in Gutterball today, which is on the Democratic side, where one of the candidates who just cannot get in gear at all has picked up an unlikely patron saint in the form of a late-night comedian called Conan O'Brien. A few weeks ago, Conan O'Brien launched a campaign to help get Lincoln Chafee to 1% in the polls, just so he didn't have to be at 0.
Right now, no one is less popular than Democratic hopeful and former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee, who is currently at 0% in voting polls. I'm not making this up. That is an actual headline. That's why I'm just taking just a short amount of time here and making it my mission tonight to help Lincoln Chafee get from 0% all the way to 1% in the polls. Wouldn't that be amazing? Let's get him to 1%. Yes. Let's be honest, I'm not trying to get him elected, okay? In fact, I'm personally not going to vote for him, okay? But I think we should at least get him on the board so he's not humiliated. It seems like the nice thing to do.
That was a nice thing to do. Here's the thing, though. It didn't work. Monmouth's been doing national polling in the Democratic race. In the last 3 Monmouth polls, they have found Lincoln Chafee's national support to be 0. Since the 3rd straight poll in which Lincoln Chafee got 0, though, Conan O'Brien launched that campaign to try to get him up to 1%. The new Monmouth Democratic national poll has just come out, and it turns out the result of Conan O'Brien's efforts is that Lincoln Chafee is still at 0%, which is itself is an accomplishment. That itself might elevate him. I mean, with this many thousand people running for president, there will not just be a loser in this campaign. There's going to be a lot of losers. But the caliber of the people who are now losing, and badly, is itself becoming an amazing sort of political spectator sport, at least on the Republican side. I mean, unless Donald Trump really is going to be the Republican nominee for president, one of these guys is going to have to pop out of the gutter to win someday. And maybe someday soon. The second Republican presidential debate is a week from tonight. Woohoo!